Well, this is a bit of a sudden but random stream, but I figured I'm already flying in Sim. I wanted to give a go and see how this would work. Now, I've already taken off. Oh, and I think my audio is really off for some reason. Let's let's try that and hope the audio isn't ridiculously off. It still looks to be off, but I hadn't actually been planning on doing any sort of stream, so I'm not using my regular microphone. I'm using my headset microphone, so it probably sounds pretty bad. Because I know this microphone is okay for sort of gaming, when I just like game with just chatting in Discord for stuff like Star Citizen, whatever. But for my videos, I normally use the Blue Snowball microphone. I don't actually have that set up right now, so instead I'm just kind of making do with this. Now, we are in a long reach, which is my virtual airline, 737-700, flying from, however you pronounce it, NFTF Malawi is something. Hang on, I'll bring it up so I actually know how to pronounce it properly. I don't have it on here to show you. I mean, you can see, I don't know where my overlay is. It's one of these ones up the top here. Probably a little bit small. But yeah, basically I'm flying from Tonga to Fiji, put it that way. And because this is a random stream, we started off with me already in cruise. So we are cruising above the Pacific Ocean, nice and high. A few storms sort of localized around us, not a lot, however. And we are, yeah, on our way, probably getting close to about halfway through the flight at this point in time. As you can see from our chronometer down here, we have been flying for about 30 minutes already. So, like I said, the stream is a bit offset. So it's Fuamotu International, or I'm probably butchering that pronunciation, but that's the airport in Tonga that I departed from, and we are en route to Nadi International in Fiji. There's some nice Pacific flying. Now, our aircraft today, if I switch to an external view, oh, that's a bit loud, isn't it? Is, as I said, the 737-700, which I have custom painted into this sort of combi configuration. Now, a combi is actually available. Not many have actually been produced. I think only like 6 or so have been produced. But, it is what it is. Also, that game audio is now really loud on the external view, so turn that down a bit. The engines aren't known for being quiet. But yeah, so this is one of the repaints I've done for it. You can see what I've basically done. Blocked off the forward section to make it into cargo. Added a fake cargo door, because of course we don't actually have one there that we can operate. And then you've got the passenger cabin for about 60 passengers or so in the rear. So, a useful airplane for hopping around taking cargo in the Pacific. Look at that. You can't even see where the horizon is. It just sort of disappears out there somewhere. But that's fine. We know where we're going. There'll be an island out this way, hopefully, which is where we are intending on landing. Now, it's also probably put the stream in a really funny resolution. That's just simply because, well, when I'm not typically streaming or recording something, I'm using my ultra wide monitor to effectively its full size, which the stream doesn't actually cover normally. I'm pretty sure when you upload this sort of resolution, it utterly butchers how it looks, which is not the preferred option. Now I can turn the volume back up on the inside. Now we're actually back in as opposed to exterior. See, top of descent coming up, but it is still a good 160 plus nautical miles away. What is it? It should be, there you go, 209 nautical miles. So we have got about half hour until we get there. And then of course we'll be actually descending for our landing at that point. Not a lot to see up here right now. The downside of flying over the ocean is that, well, yeah, it's an ocean. So once you leave the land behind, you're just looking at empty sea. Got some cloud cover coming up, however. Pretty much the only bit of visual interest going on in this whole region at the moment. We have just crossed the border into the air traffic control segment for Fiji itself. Now, I'm not actually flying online with the network, so that doesn't really matter. Switch on back over to the cockpit. Looking a little bit dark, as the EMDG tends to do. Not really sure why they preferred to have it all dark like this, but that's what they went with. So I know I definitely looked in the textures for it, and the virtual cockpit textures for the NGXU are a lot darker than the ones in the original NGX. Probably a reason for it, I just don't know what it is. Really, the only reason I'm doing this at the moment is to see if it even works. What an experiment with the weird ultra wide resolution and streaming that and see how that works and what it does to the, well, the output. I imagine two nasty black bars at the top and bottom, which isn't very nice. Few clouds over up our left. Some rain over that way as well for the radar. We look on over to our right. It's also a few. Not a lot, but it's a few. Now we have a bit of a headwind today. It's 68 knot headwind actually, which is not great. It's slowing us down a bit. I mean, you can see our ground speed is actually fairly low, down to 392. which is slow for, well, a jet of this size. But our actual total airspeed, 457 knots, that's not too bad. Decent enough. And you can see on our little airspeed ladder here, we're pretty close into the narrow area between, being too fast and overspeeding the airframe, or being too slow and risking stalling. Fortunately, we're in more or less the middle, so we're good. Now, cruise is always the least exciting part of flying. This is one of the reasons why I tend to prefer doing bush flying in sim, which maybe I should actually stream sometime, given those are a lot more actual manual flying, less time on autopilot, and just in general more interesting visuals to look at. But maybe. I don't tend to stream flight sim, mostly because I don't think it makes for particularly interesting viewing. I mean, you can see right now, there's not a lot going on, so who wants to sit here and stare at a screen with nothing happening all the time? I know I certainly wouldn't, which is why I don't watch flight sim streams. I'd rather just fly myself. What we need is some in-flight entertainment going on right now, I would say. I actually wonder, because I changed size of the stream, whether any of the stuff is actually legible as well. Because I imagine it probably isn't. Yeah. Likely would be better if it was. Also, I just realized YouTube didn't actually update the title here, so let's fix that. You can tell I wasn't prepared for this, can you? Which is completely at odds with the whole prepared 3D motto of the sim. Flying dreadnoughts. That's definitely what's going on right now. I mean, could the 737 be classed as a dreadnought? It's probably a lot older. It's like seen longer service than many of them actually saw. Also, you know this is multitasking when I've got a stream with two monitors up and then I'm using the iPad to update the details on the stream. I have to actually look up what my settings are on everything too. You know, now I wish I could actually make a flying dreadnought in a game. That would be pretty fun. Don't know how it'd work, but you could find a way. I mean, your classic steampunk ones don't make a lot of sense, do they? They tend to have either giant thrusters of some sort pointing down, or huge fans like, you know, was it that Avengers helicarrier thing? Which didn't make a lot of sense to me, its design. It had a bit of a few issues. But I guess rule of cool was the name of the day there. Okay, so I think I changed the name of the stream, but yeah. More virtual sailor or vehicle simulator videos? I would like to do more. I don't actually even know if I've got it installed at this moment in time. Uh, is there any way I can check without affecting the stream? It's going to change the audio. Let's scroll down. No, I must have uninstalled it at some point, so I'll have to grab that back. Put that back in the sim. Or computer, rather. Not this sim. This sim doesn't have sailing in it. I mean, it technically has. You can get boats. I don't imagine it's very good, but you can get boats in this. Go have a look. Oh, no, nothing to see out of that wing. Ah, there's some clouds to look out of that one. And very loud exterior engine noise. And not pleasant engine noise like a radial engine. This is just screaming. That's quite the sizable cloud formation right there. Glad I'm not flying through that right now. Oh, that was fun. OBS just said I overloaded the encoding. I didn't even know that was a thing. Also, a bit of lightning out of that cloud there. That's maybe a slightly more interesting view than looking out the cockpit right now would be. probably start preparing our descent at this point. Now, what we'll be doing, we'll be landing on runway 9 in Fiji. And as such, there is no instrument approach for it. There is no instrument approaches in terms of either VOR either. We will be simply flying a radio nav approach, or RNAV, to put it another way. Not flying them particularly often, but we'll do it and we'll have a look. I just need to actually check my charts right now to see what the approach details are, because it will be useful to know them. Okay, so we want to have our initial level out altitude be 3,400. So we'll go and scroll down our altitude, MCP here. Set that down. There we go. Now our course will be 091. Now because we don't have any actual nav aids on the runway we can use for this, there's not really any particular solid way we can follow that in. So we'll just have to make sure we line up when we start our actual approach in. So what we're going to do, if I switch to plan here, and bring that down, sorry, so we can actually see, go to the legs, you'll see we sort of fly down past our top of descent, and all of this mess is actually our landing fixes. So if we zoom in, you can see we sort of fly out, we go to this ISMOP, or however you pronounce it, and then you reach our actual alignment. So we sort of fly past the airfield, and then we turn around and come in from the other direction. Which should be fine. We'll just see how we go with it. Now we want to actually check using our data here. I want to go to our landing. Copy the data in, please. 9. What is the condition? I've got to bring up my tools here. What it's going to be. Calculator, we're expecting 190 by 3. And I'll bring up the keyboard here. 190 by 3. So pretty calm winds. The runway it reckons here has changed, but I'm going to stick with the runway I've been given for the time being. Outside temperature, what is it going to be? 27 degrees, so nice and warm. Much warmer than it was here today. Well, let me enter it, please. 1013 will be the QNH. Nice and easy. Doesn't look like there's supposed to be any rain at the time being. We'll go a full flaps 40 takeoff. We'll leave the air conditioning on. Anti-ice will be off. We'll hide the keyboard and calculate that information for me, please. Okay. So our VREF will be 137. That's not bad. So let's go to our data here. You can see here it'll actually be 132. We're plussing 5 here to make it 137. But we'll tell in the computer here that's what we want it to be. It's confirming it is in fact correct. Now, because I'm actually using FS2 crew, but with the vocal thing, I'll have to engage the brief. But the brief I've never been able to actually make work with the comms, so I have to bring it up manually. So let's go with the approach brief. approach will be... No, well, it's not really a star, but it's not vectors either. So we don't really have it. We'll go tracking. It's not ILS. It's an RNAV approach. Landing flaps 40. Leads on. Final approach fix altitude. You gotta let me put it in, please. 3,100. Our minimums will be 360. And our missed approach altitude will be 3,400. Nice and easy. Auto brake will leave on 1. ASDSX can stay as off. Have twin engine. And we will probably be at a gate. I don't actually know if we'll be at a gate, but it's possible. So we'll just play the brief here.
Are you ready for the approach brief?
Okay.
The arrival routing will be via our own tracking. For RNAV approach, planning a flaps 40 landing. VREF is 132. Final approach fix altitude is 3400 feet. Decision altitude is 360 feet. Missed approach altitude is 3400 feet. Taxi route in will be as assigned by ATC. We'll be arriving at a gate. We'll use the APU, but please delay the start until my command, as we have a long taxi. Descent speeds and navigation radios are set. Airport NOTAMs have been reviewed. Any questions, comments or concerns?
No, it was excellent, so not today.
Approach brief complete.
Very nice, he thought it was excellent. That's always nice. So, we are getting close to our top of descent now. We are tracking Nardi on the VOR now. We may as well actually configure our second radio to be tuned to it as well. It was tuned to our departure airport in Tonga. No longer needs to be that way, given we are nowhere near it. We are well out of receiving range now. And also my view is really zoomed in, I'm not sure why. That's a bit better. Let's run through my descent checklist. Are we ready? Okay, we should be. Our landing altitude, is that all set up correctly? I believe it is. What is our actual landing altitude? Airport elevation, 59 feet. What have we got here? 150, so 100 feet. So we want to have it at the whatever's higher. Let's make sure. If I bring up the FMC, normally I run this on my iPad, so you wouldn't actually see much of it. Let's double check that I have, yep, transition level, flight level 130, that's what we need. Got the wind information in the system as well. Now according to this, we're actually going to land with a bit of fuel left, 4.2 tons. I had planned our reserves to be about 3.8, so we're going to be slightly more efficient than we were actually intending. It's not a problem to me. Just leave that on the press window for now. Well, actually, we'll switch it over back to cruise. 56 nautical miles to the top of descent. So this flight's not too long. It's about 2 hours, give or take. You guys missed the start because I didn't start streaming until after I'd already started. But that's probably not a big deal. I mean, that's probably where there was more interesting stuff actually happening, as opposed to now, where there's not a lot actually to be seen. Set that to 91, just so I've got a nice quick visual reminder of my final heading. Now it's probably going to be a fully manual approach, so hopefully I don't screw it up. I am using a proper yoke and a 737 style throttle quadrant, so it should be fine. But you never know, I don't actually fly this bigger plane very often, so the landing I'm expecting will not be very good. When I did this repaint, I decided to actually chuck on the long range logo onto the winglets as well. Originally, I didn't have anything there, but I figured it might be nice to actually have a little bit of something, you know? Because before it would have otherwise been, as on the other planes I'd painted that did have winglets, just a solid purple, so that lower colour. But I actually kind of like the actual having the full logo on there, given the winglets on the 737 are large enough to make it work. Slight bit of turbulence there, but not a lot. It's pretty smooth overall this flight today. It was a bit rough on departure, but approach it will be hopefully pretty smooth, all things considered. Now, of course, this is the Pacific and the tropics during the wet season, so quite literally anything could be happening by the time we get there. It's all a question of wait and see, more or less. Switch back over to the cockpit now, as we are nearing our top of descent. Let's make sure I've got my checklist visible. Now, what's our approach? Should be 1013. Okay, so I will keep that in mind for when we get closer in. Now, I'll actually initiate the descent slightly earlier than what the FMC has calculated, solely because in my experience flying the 737, you want to have it a little higher than perhaps you ordinarily would, just to actually give yourself a bit more time to bleed off speed during the descent. Otherwise, the computer will basically complain to you that you need drag and you need to deploy the spoilers, which I feel is a little bit less professional than I like to pretend I am. You know, I'm not being professional in the slightest, but we can pretend I am. Now, Fiji should be coming up ahead of us now. Not easy to see. Bit louder out here. There we go. There is the main island below us. And a lot of cloud. But I don't think there's much rain down there. Turning on our bank. Should be overflying an airport more or less soon down below there. Nice city. Down that way. keep getting a nice bit of encoder overload here. Only happens when I'm in the external view, so I'll have to adjust my settings at some point. But I won't worry about that now. That is a problem for future me to deal with, not current me. Now that we're coming up on our top of descent, we will go to the descent page. See, we got about 13. We'll wait until that gets somewhere around sort of 5, and then we'll begin our descent. Nice and easy. See how much I can stuff up my approach. Don't actually need this open anymore, so I'll turn that off. Okay, 5 nautical miles, so we'll select descend now and execute. That will trigger us to begin our descent slightly ahead of schedule. That should be all good for us. There's a bit of clutter on our ND. Zoom in a bit more. See, our vertical deviation is increasing because we started our descent early, but the descent is only 1,000 feet. The idea being, when you descend early, not only do you sort of ease yourself into the descent, but you also make it a lot smoother of a transition, so passengers wouldn't really feel sudden change between you starting to descend. Set the auto brake to 1. Make it ready. Go back to our init. See, it's actually updated, but I'm not going to change it. I'm going to leave it as what it's set to be there. Now I'm also going to turn off my mute. Oh, it's already picked up messages. This is where the fun begins. Okay, we're a bit early, but descent checklist, please.
Descent checklist. Pressurization. Landing altitude is 100 feet. Recall checked. Auto brake. Level 1. Landing data.
VREF is 132. Minimums 360 feet.
Checked. Approach briefing.
Completed.
Descent checklist complete.
Get that caution. Now we know it's going to be 1013 on approach, so we'll pre-arm that. don't have a hard mute set, so I'll just temporarily do that. We are coming up on overflying the airport now. Won't be a lot to see of it outside. It's down there somewhere. A nice blanket of cloud to welcome us in. See, we're actually starting to speed up now as we descend, as the strong headwinds that we've had for most of the flight are starting to weaken. And of course, that means we are speeding up. Well, even though we're technically actually slowing down, if you keep track of what our ground speed and our airspeed actually are, they are, relatively speaking, starting to decrease as we descend. But we're not really paying attention to that at the moment. Make sure we keep our heading indicator or heading selector in sync just in case we need to switch on over. Shouldn't need to, but it's always good to be prepared just in case. After all, you never know what might happen. We might need to change our course all of a sudden, in which case having it already predefined to what we want it to be is useful. See all our waypoints now on the ND. Make that larger. Should be easier to read when the plane decides to display it. There we go. See, all our nav indicators are a bit of a mess, so I'll change this over to match the other one now. We're not going to be using them for the approach, but we'll have them there as a reference point. More for the DME down here, showing our distance from the VOR more than anything else. So you can see we're going to fly out to get our intercept. Then when we turn back, it will bring us in line the actual descent for the approach into the runway, which is runway 9. It's going to be potentially a crosswind based on the winds that we were forecast, but very light crosswind, so it's not something I'm really going to be particularly worried about. I just feel like landing on runway 9 because, well, why not? I'll land on runway 9er. See, that's our VOR right there. Close that for now. About to pass through 25,000 feet. I think on the weather radar showing below us at this moment in time. We can obviously see there's a lot of cloud below us, but that's all there is. There isn't any more. I wonder if anyone would get the reference to that TV show. I remember watching it a hell of a lot as a kid. I don't know why. I don't remember it being a particularly amazing show. I just know it had a great theme song. Sending at about 1,750 feet per minute. Not too shabby. Fairly gradual descent, which is always nice. Should be fairly smooth. See on the co-pilot's ND now, the blue line is our missed approach. In case we need to fly a missed approach. Hopefully we don't, but I'm not afraid to do one if I need to. I mean, sure, it is a sim. We don't have to fly missed approaches. We could just try and slam the plane down the runway. But I feel that is kind of missing the whole ethos of what flight simulation is actually meant to be about. Turning towards the Ismop waypoint. Should be inbound heading of 106, so we should be flying the outbound heading. Go, yep, 286, update. See here, we have our level off point here where we will start to slow down. And then our final decel point here to slow down to our actual landing speed is literally just before we start to turn onto our actual approach. As far as I'm aware, there aren't any aircraft nearby us. It's arrival. It's a fairly quiet part of the world to be flying, even if you fly online. The Pacific tends to be pretty quiet. Most of the people, I suppose, are Americans or Europeans, so they tend to fly within their own regions, leaving Oceania and the Pacific nice and quiet. Though Asia sometimes gets a bit of traffic.
Cabin crew, prepare for landing.
Passing 20,000. Or flight level 200, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Cloud's starting to get a little bit closer to us now as well. Which you would kind of expect, honestly. About to pass through 18,000. Flight level 180. In the US, that would be your transition altitude. It is not for us. In this case, it is 130, same as where we departed. I really need to remember what that keybind is. Because it's not the one I think it is. Oh well, no matter. approaching our transition altitude now. Things will start to accelerate as soon as we get closer.
Transition.
Set QNH. Registered. Set QNH. He doesn't want to listen to me.
Check.
Set altimeters.
1013. Set. Passing. Altitude 12,100.
Checked. Downside, he doesn't like my accent.
Now.
Beginning our turn now.
The cabin is secure.
Let's get ourselves down through these clouds now. Slightly on course
Roger.
to that turn. Probably because I forgot to change the bank angle lifter. My mistake. Brief glimmers of Fiji now and then out the windows. Approach checklist, please.
Altimeters.
Set. 1013 set.
1013. Set. Approach checklist complete.
I'm on our D cell now as well.
$5,000.
Certainly lots of cloud cover around at the moment. Losing our visibility somewhat, but should be fine.
$1,000 level. Final approach fix. Height checked. Missed approach altitude set.
Go, our speed brakes are now armed in preparation for landing.
Checked.
Flaps 1.
Flaps 1.
We'll leave the autothrottles on a little bit longer. Try to get a feel for the plane now. She drifted a little bit lower than I was intending. It's me perhaps not paying as much attention as I should have. Runway in sight. Speed.
Checked.
Flaps 5.
Flaps 5.
Sending a little much. Actually a little bit high, but fine. Visual.
Check.
2500.
Yeah, we're definitely too high. Yeah, we're not aligned.
Check.
Do a go around.
Positive rate.
Missed approach and we'll try again. Flaps up.
Flaps up. 1000 level.
Exceeded our altitude actually. It's off. What a shame we're slightly higher on our missed approach than we should have been. Line up here. It's our speed right back up. Hard to tell how good I am at keeping altitude, mate.
Checked.
Shows my coordination with my left hand not being quite what it should be. Should be coming up where we want to make our turn. Nice and gradual. Trim to ease our running. Flaps 1. I confused him by doing a go around. But we'll try it again. Flaps 5.
Flaps 5.
and actually get our descent right this time. Still a little bit high this time as well, so I'll fix our descent rate.
Checked.
2,500.
Gear down.
Gear down.
It's off. Flaps 15.
Flaps 15.
Flaps 40.
We're still above the flap speed.
Oh. Yeah, we are a bit fast actually. Flaps 40.
Flaps 40.
Yeah, I really screwed up this approach again. Landing checklist, please.
Landing checklist. Engine start switches. Runway.
Cleared.
Check.
Approaching minimums.
Some power on.
Minimums.
See how bad a pilot I am at flying jets now. Really off center here.
50. 30. 20. 10.
Bit of a long landing too.
$60.
I think that I botched that up in pretty much every single way possible. Checked.
Check.
Ladies and gentlemen, for your safety and the safety
Okay to
of
clean
those
up.
Caution
around you,
ADS.
remain seated with your seatbelt fastened and keep the aisles and exits clear until the seatbelt signs are turned off. Take care when opening overhead lockers, as items may have moved during our flight. Mobile phones may now be used on board.
Man, that was horrible.
Not permitted inside the terminal. Thank you for choosing to fly with us. It's been our pleasure looking after you today. On behalf of your crew, we wish you a safe onward journey and hope to see you again soon.
Sure, people will be glad to get off the plane now we're here. I know I certainly would be. Nice default airport here. Hour and 45, not bad. Now, my chart isn't actually aligned with the airport, so that makes things more interesting. Cargo up front, so a jetway's not
Auto
really
throttles
ideal
arm.
for us. Stop listening. Lights and doors.
Check. Cabin crew, disarm doors and cross-check. That's 3 minutes. Doors disarmed, APU on the bus.
Let's check the... Yes. Shut down the engines. Okay. Set. Secure the aircraft, please. Don't know if he's actually doing it, so set myself up to do it. Do you pick
Approach arm.
to connect? Ah, on. Continue securing. Sudden baggage vehicles. see if the ones are actually in place. Door is. So is the rear one. So let's open that as well. And there we are. Currently being serviced by Air New Zealand vehicles today. Stop him listening because he keeps coming up with annoying things now. Also, that's a very shiny engine there. Get that reflection. Boy. Yeah, so that was the impromptu stream, complete with utterly terrible botched landing. Let me know if it's something you'd actually be interested in seeing, because I really don't know. I just felt like doing something a little bit different. And so yeah, given I do flying a lot anyway, here was the something a little bit different. And oh well, I hope you enjoyed. If not, like I say, no big deal, let me know. But until next time, I'm Denodon. This was the very sudden stream and safe landings, or at least safer landings than mine.